But I'm gonna tell you like this: when I saw that, I think T.I. freaking lying.
Hear me. It been 20 years, bro. It been 20 years. I think if I wasn't built like that in the show by now, it been 20 years, bro. I done faced every challenge motherfucker like to throw at me, man. You ain't seen me.
It started the way a lot of hip-hop drama starts now, casually, almost carelessly. Not with a press run, not with a headline. Just an Instagram live. No stage lights, no producers. No filters beyond the phone camera itself. Boosie was doing what he's always done, talking freely, laughing, venting, drifting from topic to topic with that familiar, unfiltered energy fans expect from him. At first, nothing felt off. Viewers tuned in anticipating the usual raw opinions, jokes, personal stories, a little chaos. Then, without emphasis or warning, a name slipped into the conversation: King Harris. And in that exact moment, whether Boosie realized it or not, the mood shifted within seconds. Was it concern? Was it judgment? Was it harmless commentary? Taken out of context? Opinions split immediately, but almost everyone agreed on one thing. When someone's child is mentioned publicly, especially in front of millions, there is no neutral ground. The internet didn't pause to ask what Boosie meant. It jumped straight to interpretation. The fire was already lit out for T.I. This wasn't just another celebrity disagreement. It wasn't about ego, competition, or clout. It was about family. Anyone who's followed T.I.'s life understands how complicated fatherhood has been under public scrutiny. His children grew up in front of cameras, headlines, and constant commentary. Every mistake was magnified. Every phase was judged. Especially King, who had already faced more public criticism than most young adults ever should. So when the clip reached him, it didn't land as conversation. Because of where it happened, publicly, casually, without context, without protection from reaction. To T.I., that crossed a boundary you don't stumble over by accident. At first, T.I. stayed quiet, but it wasn't calm silence. It was pressure building. Anyone who knows him knows when he goes quiet, it's usually because he's choosing his words carefully or deciding whether words are even enough. When he finally responded, there was no polish, no diplomacy, no industry restraint. It was raw, emotional, protective, the response of a father, not a rapper. His voice carried anger, but beneath it was something heavier: frustration with a culture that feels too comfortable speaking on other people's children. He made it clear this wasn't about hip-hop politics anymore. About lines you don't cross, no matter how honest you think you're being. The intensity shocked people who thought they'd already seen every version of T.I. That moment changed everything. What had started as debate turned into confrontation. Fans who were undecided suddenly chose sides. Some felt T.I. went too far. Others believed he didn't go far enough. But almost everyone agreed on one thing: his reaction was real, not rehearsed, not calculated. In fact, his public identity was built on saying exactly what he wanted, whenever he wanted, regardless of who disagreed. For years, that unfiltered approach was praised as authenticity. Fans celebrated him for being real, for refusing to censor himself to fit industry expectations. But this moment felt different. What made it uncomfortable wasn't just this volume of criticism, it was the tone. This wasn't outrage driven by misunderstanding or clickbait. It was focused, direct, rooted in respect. And respect is a line even the loudest personalities hesitate to cross once they realize they've stepped over it. Boosie wasn't being accused of being provocative. He was being accused of being dismissive. And that distinction mattered. Even longtime supporters paused. Some defended him, reminding others that Boosie had never pretended to be polished or politically correct. That he built his platform on brutal honesty, not careful phrasing. But even within those defenses, there was hesitation. A quiet acknowledgement that this moment landed differently. That it required awareness, not just volume. T.I.'s response changed the entire dynamic. This wasn't a younger artist clapping back. This was someone with equal stature, history, and credibility speaking from principle. When T.I. spoke, the conversation shifted from freedom of speech to responsibility. Not whether Boosie could say what he said, but whether he should have. That realization put Boosie in a position he rarely occupied. He couldn't brush it off as cancel culture. He couldn't dismiss it as internet sensitivity. The criticism wasn't coming only from faceless accounts, it was coming from peers. From fans who had supported him for years, from people asking not for silence, but for consideration. Then came the silence, and this time, it felt heavier than his words ever had, not because he didn't know how to respond, but because every response now carried consequence. Doubling down would reinforce the idea that he didn't care. Apologizing would require acknowledging a boundary he'd long claimed didn't exist. Staying quiet risked letting the narrative write itself. What made this moment stand out was that it wasn't about ego. It wasn't about who spoke first or loudest. It was about how quickly public perception shifts when people feel disrespected instead of entertained. Shock built Boosie's reputation, but shock has a shelf life. Respect doesn't. As days passed, the conversation evolved. They were talking about patterns, how humor is often used to dodge accountability, how keeping it real can become a shield against reflection, and whether authenticity loses value when... Where's the line between honesty and harm, and who decides when it's been crossed? Eventually, Boosie addressed it. The difference was noticeable immediately. The tone wasn't defiant. But it wasn't a full apology either. It lived somewhere in between careful, restrained, measured. Meaning, it emphasized that he never meant to disrespect T.I. or his family. To Boosie, it wasn't malice. It was speaking freely, the same way he always had, but by then, the conversation had moved past intent. People weren't debating what he meant anymore. They were reacting to how it landed. And in the court of public opinion, impact outweighs intention, especially when emotions are already raw. For some listeners, his response sounded like context. For others, it felt like deflection. Fans split again. Loyal supporters argued he was being misread, unfairly pressured to apologize for being himself. T.I.'s words had already reframed the issue around loyalty, family, and boundaries. Against that backdrop, Boosie's explanation felt incomplete, not wrong, just insufficient. The silence before his response made it harder to undo. Each day, without clarity, allowed assumptions to harden. Narratives formed. Lines were drawn. So, when he finally spoke, he wasn't addressing a single moment, he was responding to days of emotional investment, and that's where the damage became irreversible. Not because he couldn't explain himself, but because explanations don't always heal perception. Once people feel a line has been crossed, clarification can feel like revision, not accountability. The situation sparked a broader conversation about why hip-hop still struggles with boundaries, why children of celebrities are treated like public property, and why keeping it real is often used as justification for ignoring consequences. This time, those questions weren't coming from outsiders. But the tension didn't. There was no joint statement. Louder than words. It tells you something shifted, even if no one wants to say it out loud.